Welcome to another edition of Sabbath School Coaching, Hit the Mark for Sabbath School Teachers. I want to continue our discussion about asking questions that we talked about in a previous episode. And I told you that one of the top skills that a good teacher must have is the ability to ask great questions. And I want to just give you some examples, and you'll find the example that I'm going to give you in my book, Hit the Mark for Sabbath School Teachers. And you can order this at my website and get you a copy. You can get an e-copy or a hard copy. But I just want to give you some of the examples from the book on how to ask good questions. And you'll find this on page 26. I just want to give you an example of a surface question versus a thought-provoking question. Because we must learn how to ask thought-provoking questions, okay? We don't want to ask questions that are so hard that no one can answer. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make the questions interesting and something that gives some thought. So let me give an example. This is on page 26 of some surface questions. The first question is, who was Joseph? And the answer is one of Jacob's sons. The next question is, why was Joseph put into jail? The answer is he wouldn't sleep with Potiphar's wife. The next question is, did God deliver Joseph from jail? Yes. That's surface questions, and honestly, it's kind of boring. But let's talk about the same subject and ask it in a different way. And before we do, I just want to set this up. Joseph, when he was in Egypt, was by himself. He had no companions, he had no resources and church or Sabbath school or camp meeting or prayer meeting or lessons or things like that, or go to the temple on Wednesday night to pray. He was by himself. And we have to take that into consideration where we see how awesome it was for him to stand firm. But here's the question. Joseph, the son of Jacob, was put into jail for not sleeping with Potiphar's wife. How do you think Joseph was able to resist this temptation? Now, if I ask that answer in class, I know people are going to put it up their hands because I'm just asking them, what do you think? How do you think he was able to resist it? Even though I know what the answer is, I allow different people to give the answer. And some will say that he loved God or he was a good person. And someone's going to say, well, it was his upbringing. And we can really trace it back to that. So I've asked a question in a way that I could get multiple answers, but get people to think about what the answer is. Now, some people say, well, when you're asking questions as a Sabbath school teacher, don't ask yes or no questions. I disagree with that. Ask a yes or no question, but after you ask a yes or no question, then ask a follow-up question. So here's an example. Does God deliver all of his faithful followers from their personal symbolic prisons? Does God deliver us all from whatever it is that we're bound by? Someone will say yes. Someone might say no. Once they say that, I could then say, why do you say yes? Why do you say no? Or class, why do you think the answer is yes? Or why do you think the answer is no? So don't shy away from yes or no questions. The key is to have good questions. Now, there are some questions that are considered bad. And a bad question, there are various bad questions. Some are questions that are too personal. Some people say, well, there are no bad questions. Yes, there are. There are plenty of bad questions. Some are not germane to the discussion. But personally, as a Sabbath school teacher, and I'm trying to engage everyone in my discussion, one of the bad questions is a question that can only be answered by someone who has studied the lesson. Because if I ask those types of questions, I eliminate anyone else from the discussion who has not studied. And as I mentioned in a prior episode, that I am expecting visitors to be in the midst of my class. And I want to lead my discussion in a way that visitors can benefit. So I want to not only ask good questions, but I want to ask the best questions. I want to ask thought-provoking questions. And in another episode, I'm sure I'll share some more insights on how to start your discussion by asking questions and what to do after the questions are answered. So I look forward to seeing you on another episode soon.